Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's look at abduction. So we have induction, deduction, and then abduction. These are three things. Induction goes from particular to general. So you look at, for example, this crow, that crow, and then you generalize and say all crows are black. This is induction. Deduction is you go from general and try to basically work out its implications. So if all humans are mortal, then you deduce from that Ali is mortal and Socrates is mortal and Kant is mortal and all. And abduction is something different from these two. Let's read through. Abductive reasoning accept a conclusion on the ground that it explained available evidence. Yeah. So that's abductive. This is abductive reasoning. So, for example, abductive reasoning accept a conclusion on the ground that it explained evidence. So, for example, it's a given that sciences are most trusted source of knowledge, and we accept its conclusions. So we accept the conclusions of physics and cosmology. So given these conclusions, and these conclusions become our evidence, basically, we say what type of universe makes overall coherent sense, given that physics and cosmology is true. So you basically say you try to develop overall picture. For example, this sort of reasoning is abductive. So we don't know the nature of universe, whether there's a God, whether it's a creation, whether it's existed from hell, because physics can't. Physics gives you some indication through which you can answer these questions, but it doesn't answer these questions because it doesn't deal with the totality of reality. It just deals with the reality in its partial way. And so what is not accessible to us, at least now, it can't really give us direct answers to that. So if we want to develop a metaphysics, for example, using abductive reason, what we do is we accept our physics and cosmology and science as its conclusions as true, and we treat it as evidence, and from that evidence we argue, given our science is true, what type of universe we live in, what metaphysics sort of gels with, what type of metaphysics or what types of metaphysical conclusions or assumptions are most compatible with this sort of evidence. So so then we argue for the truth of that metaphysics, not based on any direct evidence, but we say because our physics is true, and because the conclusions of physics are true, and if we treat them as evidence, then this sort of, whatever this is, sort of metaphysics makes more the best sense given our evidence. So you go from the evidence, so you work from the evidence to its implications for example, your metaphysics or a particular metaphysical question, for example, or about the nature of the universe, for example, overall nature. So this is sort of an abductive reason, and in a way, it reminds me of at least a version of understanding of transcendental argument. Abductive reasoning accepts a conclusion on the ground that it explains the available evidence, that it explains the available evidence. The term was introduced by Charles Peirce to describe an inference pattern, sometimes called hypothesis or inference, to the best explanation. Yeah. He used the example of arriving at a Turkish seaport and observing a man on horseback surrounded by horsemen holding a canopy over his head. He inferred that this was the governor of the province, since he could think of no other figure who would be so greatly honored. Yeah. But it's possible he might be, the chief of the battalion, or he might be even a scholar who is a Ghazi. It's possible. So abductive reasoning is not foolproof. So abductive reasoning is sort of more akin to induction than to deduction. In his later work, Peirce used the word more widely. The logic of abduction examines all of the norms which guide us in formulating new hypotheses and deciding which of them to take seriously. In addressing a wide range of issues concerning the logical discovery and the economic surface. Okay. I think that's enough. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu